Again, this lesson is going to be for more of an advanced beginner. There's stuff here that could be useful for an older beginner right away, but most might have to wait a little bit for this one. What I want to do here is develop our G chord, look at some different ways to do it, put some other chords together with it that I call the Green Day chords because I found them and started teaching them mostly in Green Day's song Good Riddance, but we'll be able to find them throughout pop guitar history. Every band has used these. I just happened to discover them a little bit late. We also will know them from Ed Sheeran's song Perfect, Led Zeppelin Over the Hills and Far Away, Pink Floyd uses them in Wish You Were Here. The idea here is we had our first G chord, where we played this G note and strummed 3 strings. As I mentioned to you, it could be 4 strings. It doesn't make a lot of difference there. And then after a time, not everybody can do this at an early stage, but you'll start to reach down to the lower strings with your middle finger on the 6th string, your pointer on the 5th at the 2nd fret to complete a G chord. We could also use your pinky to hold that G note and then put your ring finger on the next string on the D note. This would be a G5. It doesn't have all the same notes as the other chord. It's a little clearer, more of a crystal sound. And then you can again reach to the bottom of it. And that completes the G chord. So that was your initial G chord. You get up to this one, where you've added the fingers, then you have a G5, and then this G chord. So now what I want to do is take these 2 notes that we found in that little G5, which we held with our pinky and ring finger and completed this G chord, and hold those into a variety of other chords. You started to learn a couple of weeks ago or a couple of sessions ago a C chord that looks like this. We took our initial C chord, which was 3 strings holding this C note on the 2nd string. Then coming from an A minor, we added our middle finger and ring finger to these 2 lower notes on the 5th and 4th strings. In this system, if I'm holding the pinky and ring finger on these strings, then I can move the fingers that were in the G chord up a string. Yes, up is down usually. Sometimes I'll say that backwards just for convenience, but up onto the 5th and 4th strings for a C. This is going to be called a C add 9 or a C add 2 or sometimes just a C2. Those names can be a little bit confusing, but those are some of the names you'll see for it. In a song that uses this, I wouldn't yell out C add 9 or anything. I'll just call it a C chord, although we do have more garden variety C chords than this. You also learned earlier this E minor chord, where we hold the 2nd frets of the 5th and 4th strings. In this system, we will continue to hold the pinky and ring finger here. This E minor is then called an E minor 7 with that note in it. Again, don't worry, you're not going to be responsible for these names just yet. The idea is to get the physicality of it, to hold those 2 fingers down and move the others. We get to use larger expanded chords this way, but without these wholesale changes that you get with other chords. You'll be able to hold them down, and it's easier to move through one to the other. The last chord I would use here is a type of a D chord. We've seen in a D7 that we had that triangle. It had an open 4th string and a 2nd fret on the 3rd string. In this one, we're going to continue to hold these 2 notes, and this would be a D sus 4. D sus 4 is short for D suspended 4th. You'll also hear it just called D suspended or D sus. All of those refer to the same thing. It's a D chord that has this pinky on the 1st string. I'll demonstrate these again now. That's what we're holding throughout these chords. We can put our fingers on the 6th and 5th strings, and that's a G chord. These 2 fingers move up. The middle finger to the 5th string, the pointer to the 4th. We then hit 5 strings. We're not going to hit the 6th string. I've got it X'd off. This is called C add 9 or C add 2 or sometimes just C2. Again, in our context, I would just yell out that we're going to do a C. The middle finger goes away and the pointer goes to the third string. You hit the top 4 strings. And it's the D-sus 4 chord. Very often you'll hear this top note move from there. I'm going back to my G again. In the E minor, the pointer is on the same 5th string 2nd fret that it is in G. So here's a nice practice to work on. Take the middle finger from the 3rd fret 6th string of a G chord, tuck it in to the 4th string 2nd fret in the E minor. Just like you learned that A minor and C were relatives of each other and we could do the change with one finger moving, E minor is the relative minor of G major, and you can see the same thing. Apart from everything else, if you can get into this chord and hold it, that would be a great practice. E minor 7 to G, E minor 7 to G. Once again, I would probably just call that an E minor in certain situations. E minor G, E minor G, just that middle finger moving. We're looking for these to stay anchored in all our chords in this song, but the pointer is anchored as well in this. G to C, G to C. Try to move those 2 fingers together from one string to the next. In this song, Good Riddance, the pattern is written here. I'm not labeling everything here. I'm not telling you it's a C add 9 or a D sus 4. I would just be saying play the C, play the D. If you're holding these 2 notes, then these chords just become part of the system, and probably the songwriter is just thinking C, D, E minor. That's your basic pattern for this song. You can go through this pattern with 4 strums on every chord. We haven't even talked yet about strumming techniques or any kind of alternate picking or alternate strumming. Right now what I would be doing is I'd say every time I wrote a chord, let's do 4 of them. There's another G, 4 strums, another C, 4 strums, the D. At the end of that line I wrote 4 times, so that means I'm going to repeat that line 4 times. This is a real shorthand that I work through. To me, this is how you think of a song. You don't read these chords 4 times over and over and over. What you do is you think I'm doing that one system 4 times. Now I'm on my 4th one. Hopefully I haven't lost count of any of my strums yet. Now I go to the next line. I have my E minor 7 to D sus 4 to C, add 9 of course, to G. You see I said to do that twice. So E minor again, the D, the C, and the G. On the bottom line I'll alternate E minor and G, so the entire form of the song would be this line 4 times, this twice, the E minor G line, we start again, we complete that cycle 4 times, and that would get you through the song. Another day we would talk about the strum pattern. That's not something I would start dealing with most beginners. Some of them do get really fussy about strum patterns and want to know what I'm doing, what the down and up of every song is. But at first, your coordination will be such that just getting 4 strums would be great. The song does a specific pattern that you'll recognize. Now he starts singing. Here's the E minor. E minor again. E minor to G. G. E to G. E to D. And start again. And I'll just pause there. Hopefully that worked out, and I'll leave it at that for now. Talk to you guys later. Bye.